Welcome to the Heartlifter Way. I'm Janell, and this is a gentle space for emotionally weary women to breathe, heal, and carry life differently. Here on the Heartlifter Way, we walk the gentle path, grounded in what is real, expressing emotions with self-compassion, nourishing our nervous systems, trusting in God's daily presence and care, listening to our body's quiet wisdom, and embracing micro movements forward in hope. Today's conversation with Dr. Noel Forlini Burt is a beautiful fit for the Heartlifter Way because Noel's work lives right at the intersection of wilderness, spiritual formation, tenderness, suffering, and the slow work of becoming. Her emphasis on the desert as a place of transformation, not punishment, aligns deeply with our theology of gentleness framework. I think many of us carry an unspoken belief that if we're walking closely with God, life should feel clear. But what happens when it doesn't? That's why I'm so grateful for today's guest. I'm joined by Noel Forlini Burt, Old Testament scholar, spiritual director, and author of God in the Desert, a spiritual theology of wilderness in the Old Testament. In this beautiful and deeply thoughtful book, Noel explores the wilderness stories woven throughout Scripture, from Hagar and Moses to Elijah and the people of Israel, and invites us to consider that the desert may not be a place of God's absence at all. It may be a place of encounter, a place of transformation, a place where we learn to loosen our grip on certainty and discover God in deeper ways than we expected. And honestly, I think many of us are carrying our own wilderness stories right now. So let's begin there. Welcome, Noel, to the show. Okay, Heartlifters, we are welcoming someone so special to the show today, Noel Forlini Burt. And Noel has written this book. She's written several. God in the Desert, a spiritual theology of wilderness in the Old Testament. And I have no doubt that you have found yourself in a wilderness. And I love, Noella, welcome first. Let me welcome you. I always dive in so deep first, but hello and welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
I've just been steeping in this, so I'm so ready to go, and I always forget the formalities. And I'm Southern.
I already feel at home, Janell.
Oh, I'm so glad. I would pour you a cup of iced tea if I could. Milo's, of course, but any hoozle. So God in the Desert, a spiritual theology of wilderness. Okay. I mean, did you just have to write about this subject? It's not a light one. And you did write God in the Wilderness as well. And so both of these are just, not the lightest of topics. It's not like joy building or anything.
Yeah.
What led you to this book, these themes?
Yeah. Gosh, the journey to this book has been really 20 years in the making.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it sort of began, although I didn't know it at the time, it began in my first semester of spiritual formation in seminary. And our professor who introduced us to the devotional classics books, if you're familiar with those, it's Richard Foster, coming out of the Renovare movement. And so it's this compilation of various excerpts from various spiritual writings throughout church history, and then it's got these practices that you do, and it meshes with the biblical text too. And so we arrived at the unit on the Dark Night of the Soul, John of the
Yeah,
Cross,
John the Cross.
and Foster in that book is interwove it with Psalm 42,
Mm,
which is of course, a psalm that is asking the question of where God is and
yeah.
longing to feel God's presence, and in a way the psalmist once did. And so I remember being assigned to lead that particular class discussion on that
Oh,
particular unit.
wow.
And there was something about like this combination of darkness and God's absence, that and the questions that you have about God that are real and present and
Mm,
visceral, um,
yeah.
that a lot of us just don't talk about. And I remember thinking as a 23-year-old seminarian, that this was a text for me and a topic for me, and I didn't know why at the time. I just sort of had
Fascinating.
this sense
Yes.
intuitively. Um,
23.
yeah. So just a moment, kind of like down the line, that it might be important. And so there was this sort of amalgamation of topics
Hmm.
around suffering and darkness and confusion and God's absence that I just felt would be somehow important in my life. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
23, I'm going to repeat. That's
As
quite
yeah,
young.
as the Lord's intuition, I think. But I
Yeah.
just, fast forward a few years later, and I find myself doing a PhD and an Old Testament, and the story
Wow.
of Jacob wrestling with God at the Jabbok River
Hmm.
found me. And I published my dissertation on that topic. And once again, it was darkness
Oh, I love it.
that that Jacob encounters in that scene twice, and this tension between God's absence and in Genesis 32, God's sort of hyper presence, where God is sort of violently there and changes your whole life. And so
Hmm.
I was exploring Jacob's experience throughout the story and how he encounters darkness literally and figuratively throughout, that
Yes.
felt like a wilderness.
Hmm.
Um, and during that same sort of time, I was living with the Christian mystics too, and
Oh,
took a
I just
doctoral.
love you.
Well, it's not been an easy journey. I mean,
Oh,
if
no,
you
no, no.
know,
You do not love a
um,
light read on, obviously.
no, no. And so I kept finding throughout my like education and my own life, I kept finding writers and texts that pointed me to wilderness, that there were these sort of opposite, seemingly opposing ideas
Hmm.
and experiences that felt true to the biblical characters, felt true to those in church history, felt true to our own lives. And so it was a kind of meandering journey, which is
Oh,
appropriate because that's the wilderness. So it's a
I,
long 20 years in the making. So,
I bought this little ring on my birthday this year,
Hmm.
and it has the meandering Greek key on it. I don't
Oh,
know if you can see.
beautiful.
It is
Yeah.
quite beautiful. And I didn't have any idea what it meant.
Mm.
I just was at a jeweler, a local jeweler who does incredible creative work, very small place, owned by some sisters. And I went and I just looked down in the case and it was like illuminated. And I went, wow,
Mm.
what is that design? And she was like, it's a Greek key. And I went, well, what does
Huh.
that mean? And she said, I don't know. And so I got in the car and got my phone and just did a deep dive. And I was like, this is where I'm living. And so
Mm.
I love that you said the meandering, because meandering is very much the journey of a wilderness, the journey
Yes.
of a desert. Were you, I've read many of the stories in your book about you as a child. I'm so intrigued to know, with five new little grands that have come into my life these last 4 years, as I'm watching them, and just, it's very different than being a mother. But I wonder if you were an intuitive child. You seem very intuitive now. That the story of you on the mountain when you were 8 years old, I was going to jump to that
Oh.
later,
Mm.
where you wrote, fear was my only orientation to God.
Mm.
I know it's been a while since you wrote the book. So,
No,
but
no, I'm just, yes.
yeah, that's that sentence just was like,
Mm.
wow. Fear was my only orientation to God. You're going on a mountain in the car, I
Yeah.
guess, with your folks, and it's
Yeah.
dark. And were you an intuitive child? Sure sounds like you were.
Well, that sentence came out of hindsight. You
Sure.
know, it
Yes.
wasn't that I was
Sitting in the back seat. There is my
theologizing at 8 years old.
theologizing
Yeah,
my life.
yeah. I don't know. That's such a good question. I mean, I fear coming off too much like a heretic here, but I will be honest and say I think that there are two parts of my personality that always are in tension with one another.
Mhm.
One of those is I feel so drawn to the mystics and
Okay.
feel so affectively
Mm.
oriented to God and to the world, and that's so present in me. What is equally present is a real raising epistemologically on a hermeneutic of suspicion. And so the cerebral in me
Mm.
wars against probably the
Ooh,
little kid in me.
yeah, sure.
So, so I can't speak to that. I mean, I think there's a
Right.
magic age that kids are in, and you can speak to this probably as a grandmother, somewhere, around that 3 to 10-year-old age, that sort of range where we're just, I don't know, I think close to God. We're down low.
Very much so. I
So.
absolutely think so. And that's why I asked you,
Mhm.
because you also refer, in hindsight, as you said, to God as the great someone
Mhm.
at that time. You know, I
Yeah.
I I experienced that. I distinctly remember about age 10. And I've written about it looking out the window. I'd heard my mom say earlier in the day, I hope your father doesn't kill somebody on the way home who is an alcoholic. I had no idea what that meant. No one explained it to me.
Um,
She was telling my older siblings, 8 and 9 years older. And I stood by that window and I just looked up, and I was a Catholic. I had what religiously went to church with my mother. So I knew there was somebody out there. They
yeah.
called him God, and Jesus was hanging on the cross in there. So I knew, God and Jesus. I love that you have been, you're so honest about the tension.
Mm.
And I wonder if you could speak to that. I mean, I'm being selfish here because I am so drawn to the mystics
Yeah.
and have been when I was deeply entrenched in the evangelical world, and shaming myself and guilting myself for that. Is it a proclivity or that
Yeah.
like just lights me up? I mean, there was a time I considered being a nun, so maybe, maybe there's a mystic in me, but I just think then there's a cynic, and I think that's a really honest tension
Yeah.
within our church systems to be
Yeah.
very cynical of that. Can you speak to that at all?
I think somehow in church, sometimes we're wrong no matter what we do. Sometimes I think that there's this sort of shaming for being a little bit too odd and a little bit too spiritual.
Woo woo.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the mystics are accused of that. They're accused of that,
Mm,
by evangelical tradition a lot as well. I mean, I've experienced that in my own life with teachers and different
okay.
Christians that I've encountered. So I think sometimes there's the suspicion
Hmm.
of that the subjective experience is dangerous somehow.
Is that because it doesn't fit in a box and there are really no rules to follow?
Yeah, I think so. Like it just the mystics and subjective experience, I think often bursts our categories because we're dealing with a God who cannot be tamed. And I think that, there's always the cynic in me when I find myself leaning into that sort of posture. The cynic in me feels like, did I really hear that? Did I
Hmm.
really experience that? And
Hmm.
so I rush back over to the cerebral
Yeah.
because that's where the distance, the sort of objective distance can be. I can hold on to creedalism and to orthodoxy and to those things that give me like theological guardrails, and there's a safety in that
There is.
and
Hmm.
an assurance in that. It feels, depending on how you go about it, sometimes it feels a little bit too detached.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. It's really
Yeah,
beautiful. I would think you're also an academic.
right. And that's it too. It's just I read Henry Nouwen religiously,
Mhm.
and he was someone who, taught at Harvard and Yale and was thought of
Right.
as less academic,
Mm.
right? And others that we can think of and name in a more contemporary sense, it kind of face
Yeah.
that same. Dallas Willard is one
Yes.
where, writing very deeply about spiritual things and fully educated in the
Right.
academic sort of spaces. There's nothing to be intellectually ashamed of, and yet not quite fitting in that box.
Right.
And academia for me is a place where I fit and where I don't fit. And that's
Mm.
a tension because there's a certain way of
Mm.
going about religious education in universities and seminaries
Yeah.
that edges out that
Yeah.
affective. And so what are we left with? We're left with pastors who are trained the heart is to be put over here, it's to be
Yeah.
suspected, and the
Yeah.
intellect is where we stay. And so what we find being
Hmm.
spouted from the pulpit often is intellectual assent
Yes.
and people who were affectively starving. So,
Yes. And that is why we're here, to
mm,
integrate the and marry and
mm,
just bring them together. At least I am. That is what my
yeah.
journey has been. And so I so appreciate the way that you bring Jacob to us. I'm going to jump to Hagar soon, but I don't want to go past Jacob and how important he was in drawing you to understanding the desert, the wilderness. But the way you describe it, I mean, it's just Heartlifters. It's right at the beginning of our media kit. Like I get a media kit, and they're usually not this, and so I was like,
Huh.
"Wow, right here, this."
Oh,
Holy.
I didn't know what you received, so it's
Oh,
interesting.
well, that is what I received. And
Mm.
it's Dreams and Ladders, Jacob at Bethel. Jacob has a dream in the wilderness of Bethel, which means house of God in Hebrew. And so it goes on to say, but would you discourse, I'll be academic for a minute, on the three stages? I have not been taught on the three stages of the ladder situation.
Mm, mm,
Jacob has a dream in the wilderness of Bethel, which means house of God in Hebrew. The Hebrew writer juxtaposes the isolation Jacob experiences in running away from home with Yahweh's dream for Jacob's life, where previously Jacob's world closed in around him, leaving him in a fearful and constricting darkness. At Bethel, God's house, Jacob begins to see the possibilities of a larger world, a bigger life, one in which his own tiny earth connects to heaven. You can see where I'm going with this. This is incredible. I will not
mm.
say this man's name right. Yair Zakovich? I don't know.
Yeah,
Traces
yeah.
Jacob's expanding vision through three usages of Wene,
Hene,
Wene,
yeah.
Wene, and behold, twice in Genesis 28:12 and once in Genesis 28:13. In the
Mm,
first stage, Jacob witnesses the stairway that is set on the ground and reaching to the sky. In the second stage, Jacob sees the angels of God are ascending and descending on it. In the third and final stage, Jacob looks at the top of the staircase and
mm,
sees God standing on it. This is from the book Unexpected Patriarch by
mm.
Jacob Yakovich. At each stage, no, by Zakovich, Jacob Unexpected Patriarch's the name of the book.
Mm,
At each stage, Jacob's world opens, becoming larger.
mm. Yeah, I think Christian tradition has one of the most useful ways in which Christian tradition has understood sin is to be curved in on the self. And it is to have a kind of self-orientation. And I think sometimes people who are spiritual and those of us that think of ourselves in that way, there's a danger there that we're
Yeah.
only ever navel gazing and
Navel
only
gazing.
ever,
Oh,
yeah.
I've been accused of that, being you know, in the mental and emotional health realm. Yes.
I think it's important to remember that spiritual formation yes, is a process that conforms us to Christ, but for that end phrase, for the sake of others.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we are, I don't know, New Age. We are
Yeah.
not much better than a sort of Oprah Winfrey spirituality, right? So I think Jacob, throughout much of his story, if we begin in Genesis 25, where we first meet him, and when his story ends really in Genesis 50, much of his story is about looking out for himself
Yes.
and his needs.
Right.
He's doing that from the womb.
He is.
He's grabbing onto someone else's life.
Ooh.
And there's a lot in
Oh,
that.
that's so, I've never heard it say that way.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
he says to Isaac in Genesis 27, I am Esau.
Right.
And so there's a sense in which he doesn't have a fully formed self.
Right.
He is chasing after someone else's blessing, someone else's
Mhm.
birthright, someone else's life,
Ooh.
and has not really dealt with the self that is within. And the self that is within is one that is selfish.
Okay, Heartlifter, I just want to read a little bit more of Noel's commentary here. Until now, Jacob's desires have been small, involving only himself. In a strange irony, it will take isolation for Jacob to realize that God's dreams for him involve more than just him. Jacob will have to be alone to realize that God's dreams for Jacob are not for Jacob alone. Oh, God's dreams for Jacob are not for Jacob alone. Like Abraham, Jacob will come to realize that the dreams of God involve, ooh, this is so good, blessing for the many and the whole, not only the one. As Madeline L'Engle describes the scene, God invites Jacob, and by extension all of us, to move from independence to interdependence. We need to remember that the house of God is not limited to a building that we visit for only a few hours on Sunday. The house of God is not a safe place. It is a cross where time and eternity meet, and we are, or should be, challenged to live more vulnerably, more interdependently. A stone for a pillow. Our spiritual formation cannot and does not begin and end with us. If our formation is to be something more than a hollow self actualization, less therapeutic and more Christocentric, then it must involve the all. We are implicated in the good and the flourishing of the all, just as we take place in God's big world. We do not have to be good. Jacob, that wily heel grabber, was not good. I'm not particularly good either. Right.
His name means heel grabber, and it's to
Yes,
suggest that he's someone who's fundamentally a liar.
it
His life
does.
is fundamentally a lie.
Right.
Uh, and so
Wow.
he arrives at Bethel, and he's bargaining with God. If you do X, Y, and Z, if you bring me safely back, then I will follow you. It's this conditional, it's literally conditional clauses.
Right.
In Hebrew, the conditions he places on God. And what God shows him is a picture really of where, if you will, heaven and earth are meeting, right, with the angels and the Lord at the top eventually. And it's gradations of divinity in Israel's consciousness, if we explained it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But more deeply, it's the sense that my life is connected not just to myself, but to the larger patriarchal narrative that is connected to the entire world.
Right.
So if Israel is said to be a blessing to the nations, and if Abraham goes, if we go back to Genesis 12, 1 to 3, and the
Mm-hmm.
what scholars call the programmatic statement of those three things, that it is outward looking always. It is
Always.
it is for Israel, but it's beyond Israel. And Jacob has
Yeah.
to come to grips with that.
Mm,
And as do we. I mean,
we
there's
sure do.
there's an interdependence that
Hmm.
we're called to.
You're right about that. I circled that, the interdependence. Yes. Because we do forget that. In Genesis 12, 1 through 2, when I used to be a children's pastor, minister back in the day, I wrote a
Yeah,
song, Go and bless the nations, da
yeah.
da 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 da, and I just never, ever have forgotten. Why are you to go if God is blessing Abraham to be a blessing?
Yes,
Right? And we really live in a modern day and time when it is all about us. No doubt.
100%.
I'm sure
Yeah.
the principalities and powers of darkness are the same as they were forever and ever. But, to have a 24/7 gram and social media and all that jazz, we're all grabbing onto the heels of wanting to be someone else if we're very honest.
Oh, absolutely. And we make God into, well, now one puts it this way, we secularize God.
We do.
We make God into this transactional figure who, if we pray in certain ways, we God can help us to be someone. God is working towards our own publicity, when in fact, Jesus is the anonymous God, he says. And we
Yes.
are called to anonymity as well. So I don't know how
Oh,
we talk about that when I'm on a podcast today. So
Noel. We got to take a pause, a sacred pause, as you talk about in chapter 6. We must take a pause at that statement. Oh, I mean, that took me out of my body. Like, say that again, please. Like, wow, please.
just this, I mean, it's not mine. It's not my statement. It's Noun. And
Ah,
I have been reading letters to Mark about Jesus. That's where he talks about that. And it's just,
okay.
this idea of taking the descending way as
Ooh,
opposed to the way of upward mobility. And the tricky thing about the latter image
yeah,
is that Jacob is ascending. He's going up the ladder. And what does
right.
that mean? And there's different writers across Christian tradition that are
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
about the ladder in different ways.
right,
So this is not really the way that the ladder is being used here, but I
right.
think the larger principle for Jacob's own life is that he has to descend into himself and
Yes,
find Yahweh there.
yes, 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 yes.
Oh,
Which is not navel gazing. It would be
yeah.
spiritual formation, right?
Yes. Yes.
Introspection. I'm just reading on Saint Teresa of Lisieux, which I think it's Terrace. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just
writing on her right now.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? It's just too much. I love how God works. Okay, her book's down there. Story of a Soul came in the mail today.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
listening to James Finley on mystics, turning to the mystics.
Yeah.
Her story is arresting my life. And
Yeah.
now you just spoke of anonymity. So, all right, link them together for me. You must tell me what you're writing about her. Is it Therese or Terrace, or how do you say it?
I would say Therese, but I'm a biblical
Therese.
scholar, not a
Right.
church historian. So, but I'm working on a book on the Psalms, and I'm using her in conjunction with Psalm 131, which is this. I've not raised my head too high, my heart is not lifted up, but I've calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child. And Therese is, the writer of The Little Way.
She is
And she
just,
talks about spiritual childhood.
and about,
So,
I mean, but her struggle, I'm brand new, I'm a baby, I'm in kindergarten with St. Therese, but
mm,
it's like she wanted to be a great saint. She
yeah,
wanted to. She heard of them or however, and was like, I want to be great too.
yeah,
And God took her to nature and he showed her violets and daisies and said, not everyone's a lily, not everyone's a rose. It's so
yeah.
exquisite. So, can you speak or add
Mm,
your own beautiful, beautiful spirit to a call to being anonymous in this day and age? What does that even look like or mean? Is that a posture? Is
mm.
that a state of being? Is that a spiritual practice?
Okay. I don't know. I think it's
Oh,
person specific. I really do. I think, you're talking about almost becoming a nun. That's a
yes.
very particular kind of calling
Mhm.
that is presumably, I mean, there's some nuns that were well published. Macrina Whitaker comes to mind,
Yeah.
but is a posture of relative anonymity. You are not going out and making a name for yourself in the world. You are
Yeah.
instead giving yourself to the world.
It was a serious movement. I became a Christian my senior year in college and was on my way to Broadway and to be a
Wow.
rockette. And so you
Wow.
speak of your own tension, which I'm going to invite you as you're listening, Heartlifter, into this tension. Perhaps I'm further along in life. I'm 66, and that tension has followed me all of
Yeah.
my life. And it's really the same tension as you were speaking of, like this turning to a mystical life and being a nun or being this person. But then here, God has moved you into the world of academia, and publishing is a very big part of that.
Yeah.
And, accolades and all of those things, not very different than myself in many ways, wanting to be a Broadway star or a Rockette,
Yeah.
and then eventually Miss America, on and on and on. And just carrying the public stage,
Yeah.
that whole thing. So it's a tension.
Yeah, it is attention. And I think the thing I've been thinking about lately is just what is the posture of my heart? No one knows that except for me.
Okay, I love this. Yes.
And I've been reading Eugene Peterson's The Message in Matthew
Gosh,
6.
you're just
And
dive in so deep. I love it.
well, I mean, I'm really challenged by
Mm.
I read Matthew both as a scholar, a religious scholar, and also as an Enneagram 3. I read Matthew 5 to
Oh,
7 with fear and trembling
talk about
because
tension. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you know, Peterson's translation of Jesus in Matthew 6 is like these things, these religious practices that you do might make you a small-time celebrity, but they won't make you a saint. And I
Oh,
love that translation because we can be in academia or the world of the arts or whatever it might be and be public facing, and everyone else thinks that we are so spiritual or so gifted or so talented, and we get that gets poured onto us, and only God knows.
that's
I think
correct.
sometimes we don't even know. I could say
No.
we know, but I think we don't always know. Our
Oh,
motives are
no.
always mixed.
Always. I can tell you, I
So,
thought, yeah, I'm no heart lifters. I keep talking about this, but it is so deeply relevant. And, uh, this July 30th going into atrial fibrillation, cardiac events nowhere in my family history.
oh,
And
wow.
I thought I was doing the Lord's work, you know?
Wow.
And it has been the most arresting time of God in the desert. And if I'm honest, Noel, it's why I was so drawn to having you here. This was completely selfish, but I so love my heart lifters. And I know that so many people are struggling in the dark and in the desert, but it was in the back of the ambulance and then in the ER room when I was shut off by myself. And I thought, oh, I remembered I had prayed, God, I don't know what I'm doing wrong or how I need to change, but there's something not right in my life. And this came.
Wow.
And Spurgeon once said, God's love letters often come in a dark chariot.
Yeah.
And it has been that. And I feel like, okay, Noel, you tell us so beautifully in this work that it is in the darkness. Let me quote C.S. Lewis as you did, holy places are dark places.
Yeah.
And you tell us that is where the work is done. You have
Yeah.
Elijah in the cave. You have Hagar in the wilderness, the desert. So your insights, why do you think that is?
I can only offer that I think the road to success can
Hmm.
can help us believe our own publicity. I think
Oh,
we're surrounded by people that just pour praise on us. And so it
Mm.
might push us to keep going and keep producing and keep achieving and keep climbing the ladder of success. And
Ooh,
doing that with that's our only sort of posture towards the world and never look within because why would we?
like Jacob
Well,
then, right? Like, why
why
would
would
we?
we do that? And when we fall off the ladder,
Ooh,
we begin to think, you ask the question like, what is wrong in my life? And it's not to say that like
hmm,
when you're suffering, it's because you've done something wrong. But it is to say that it might give you a greater sense of attentiveness to your inner life and to what God
that's
is
correct.
actually doing. So,
That's exactly right. And I know that you've been there. I can sense that you have been in that place. So, do you think, this is off just from my heart, do you think God loved Jacob so much
mm,
that he really wanted Jacob's attention and he knew the plan that he had for Jacob? I mean, this is providence. This is what I don't know. I just think that beautiful verse in the New Testament that says his gentleness will lead us to repentance or lead us, his goodness will lead us to metanoia, like making
yeah,
a
yeah,
massive change in our life. And I just think it's so powerful that you just spoke of the ladder of success as opposed to Jacob's ladder. And I think that could teach so deeply. And I'm going to dig into that
yeah.
because, it's just amazing. Well, I want to move on to Hagar. I don't want to move on because we really all want to be great saints. We do, if we're
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
And even when I'm listening about Saint Therese and you talk about her and James Finley talk about her being ordinary, it just prickles me to the bone. It's like, oh, how awful, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But actually, it has everything to do with the incarnate God and his way he expresses himself through that. So let's just talk a moment about how brilliantly you write about Hagar. So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to assume all of my heartlifters are familiar with the story of Abraham and Sarai and Hagar. But yeah, give us your beautiful wisdom on Hagar, who we think has been ousted, you know. Mm,
Yeah. I don't know. I exist in an academic world where a lot of people that have a great deal of contextual power and who are good, faithful servants of God.
hmm.
And I had an experience recently where I was in a setting where it was a kind of this is your life, Noel. Like just it was
Wow.
a lot of different people from different phases of my life all in one place.
Oh, wow. I had one of those. That's crazy.
It can be alarming. It's
How the world did that happen? I'm so curious. Don't have to tell us. Keep
um
going. Keep going.
yeah, yeah. I don't know that I should.
That's okay. It's all
um
fine. So you're
yeah,
here. This is your life, Noel.
this is your life, and I'm looking at really great people of the faith and
Yes.
thinking these are much more complex figures than we all want to think. That I know something of the complexity of their stories and the ways in which their stories have intersected with mine or other people's, and think we walk around, I think a lot of us, feeling like we're Abraham and Sarah, that we are the good people
Yes.
of God who serve God, who leave a place in faith and go and follow. And we don't always look over our shoulders to the Hagars that we've left in our wake.
Noel, you're just giving me chills.
And we've all done that.
Oh,
So,
without a doubt. First in line. Yes.
so I
Okay.
just think it's really complicated to paint in such generous brushstrokes,
Hmm.
any of us.
So true. Heartlifters, you have to read this chapter on Hagar. It's so powerful. Can I just read a little bit if you don't
Sure.
don't mind? This was also the other huge takeaway that I had from this. Not reading the pre-story, so you're just going to have to get the book and go to page 24. But you write here, voicing our experiences, especially when they differ from the hegemonic power structures. Well, I don't know what that word means, and I didn't have time to look it up. Can you tell me what hegemonic means? I
Yeah.
really love words, and I'm feeling bad. I don't know what it is.
No. The sort of the overarching or accepted power structures of a place.
Oh, I have a new word, and I am so excited. So, voicing our experiences, especially when they differ from the hegemonic power structures, is an act of resistance. And this is what you say Hagar was doing, unknowingly almost, that
Yeah.
it was an act of resistance, which a way of seeing ourselves and casting a vision for our own lives, even if that vision contradicts, oh my God, a more powerful person's vision of God. I'm not supposed to say I swear, but oh my gosh, Noel. Oh my gosh, I want to be in the room when you got that and how you wrote it. Okay. Hang in there, I'm reading a little bit more. Hagar is an undeniable figure of oppression in the early portions of the patriarchal narrative, yet she is also remarkable for her resistance to the power structures that enslave her. For the resilience she displays in the inner desert of her own life, and later as a survival in the actual desert she inhabits. All these things ought to preclude our labeling her a victim only. Hagar refuses to recede into the narrative background as a victim. And neither does the God of the desert allow her to do so. Oh my gosh, sorry. Hagar has an identity all her own, rightly taking up space in the story as a character who refuses any longer to tolerate systems of abuse. Perhaps knowing that Abram and Sarai's house would be a more dangerous space than the desert itself.
Yeah.
Hagar flees there and discovers a surprising hospitality. It was the place of her divine encounter. And you write that she was the only, I gotta get my notes. Da, da, da. You go on. I mean, the pages are brilliant. Oh, yes. Here we go, page 29. Indeed, Phyllis Tribble reminds us that Hagar is the only person in the Bible who names God, El Roi, the God who sees.
Yeah.
Please, just give me a little bit more about that divine encounter and her act of resilience.
Yeah, I think this is actually, it just came to me just now. I've not made this connection until this moment, but just, we talk about seeing, but there's also hearing that God does. And I'm thinking about, the story of Cain and Abel, where, God comes to Cain and says, where is your brother? And he says, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. And there's a case to be made, I think, just sort of layering that onto Hagar. There's a case to be made that just her life is a call to God. Just the way that she's been treated is a call to God. She could do nothing except exist in this situation for God to see, to hear, to notice her. But that she is resistant in Genesis 16 of having a child and doing something that Sarah can't at this point in the story. And the Hebrew puts it like her mistress was lowered in her esteem, or her mistress was trifling to her. She was light. She was sort of levity to her. And just this sense of saying, you may not accept me in this world.
Yes.
But there is a gift I have been given.
That's right.
You may have cast me out of a system, but there is something that I have to offer. And God sees that and God blesses it and God encounters and sees her and they see each other.
Oh, yes,
Um,
oh, Noel, they see each other. He sees her. And I think what really, really astounded me was, and maybe I've heard this and it's just lodged in the hippocampus somewhere, but once she became a mother,
yeah,
she couldn't go back to being a slave.
yeah.
Oh, I just think there are so many layers to that, and I will add to this later and not hold you hostage to my podcast here. It's like she couldn't.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what was behind that statement? Was it because she was elevated in the sense that, I mean, being a mother is is an elevation. Is that a safe statement?
In that culture, definitely. I
Right.
mean, certainly there's a hierarchy of women in that culture where, the mother is elevated,
Yeah.
above the widow, above the
Right.
slave, right? And so there's she and I want to look with some empathy on the whole family
Hmm.
because
Oh, of
they're
course.
they're all trapped in a system.
They are.
And it was, it's not the same, but I think the principle is similar of like the moment I had in my own life of, okay, we're all in a system here. And it's really easy to paint in black and white and I'm the good guy and you're the bad guy. And it's just
Yeah,
so complicated.
it
So, but
is.
yes, in her having a child culturally, her status was elevated. Absolutely. So,
She just couldn't go back. And I think that's what I hear resonating in your book. Like once you've met God in the wilderness, in the desert, and even like going back to your initial tension.
yeah.
Can you fill in the rest of what I'm going to say?
Well, no, I was thinking about, I mean, looping it back. I won't belabor the Jacob point, but just he walks differently,
He does.
literally differently. And I just have this intuition that the blessing he's been seeking is in fact the thing that has wounded him. And we encounter God and we walk differently. So I
We
think that
do.
the tension you're talking about is like, maybe to go back to Peterson, like maybe I acknowledge that I want to be a saint, yes.
Hmm.
But there's part of me also that likes being a small time celebrity. And to be
Oh,
honest about that and to say,
oh.
like, both these things exist and God help me to orient myself truthfully
Hmm.
about that and rightly as best as possible towards you.
Okay, you just said the word, so we're gonna close with that. I've got to find my notes. Give me a minute. It's in the chapter on the darkness of disorientation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's in the Moses chapter, yeah.
Oh, yes, Moses and Sinai and the what
Yeah.
is liminality. So we're just gonna close because I have really been talking a lot about liminal spaces and liminality. So I thought this would be a perfect addition to that conversation with my heart lifters. And so, yes, what are those three stages? What does that mean?
Yeah, so liminality is this idea that we are individually or corporately, and certainly when we're talking about the Israelites, we're talking about the whole people, but on a threshold from one thing to another. There is a threshold that we are going to step over, and
Yeah.
it's going to change us in some way. And in that stepping over of a threshold, there is discomfort or disorientation.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a process of doing. It's like our spiritual formation. It's a part of it. It's a process of doing it. And that when we step over that threshold, there's some other new truth that we've discovered about the world, about ourselves, about God, that changes us.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing that happens just once if we're awake to our lives at all. It's a thing that happens again and again and again. So orientation is this idea that the world is stable for me. There is an equilibrium. I'm not unbalanced,
Right.
but things are certain and something happens, whatever it is,
Oh,
that we suddenly become disoriented and the old ways just don't hang together for us anymore.
they just don't work.
They just don't work. And so we go through that, and what comes out of it on the other side is a deeper wisdom. So,
amen. In parting, it's a sweet sorrow. What wisdom could you give us to perhaps moving through those 3 phases? Or perhaps we really just find ourselves in the disorienting phase.
yeah.
And what wisdom did you glean from your own experience that might help us have the bravery and the courage to cross a threshold, perhaps out of a system into a new system, or out of an old way of life that's not working into a new way? Because we are creatures of comfort and creatures of, well, there's no other way to say it. We're just creatures of comfort.
Yeah.
Do we just take a big deep breath and take the first step, or just no pressure here?
I mean, I think one thing that's been helpful for me has been to have a spiritual director,
Oh, yes.
to have, another human
Yeah,
to tell all our secrets to.
that's so
You know,
good. Mhm.
that, we don't do life alone, and particularly for people who are in the public eye.
Yeah,
Spiritual Christian people who are in the public eye, that there's such a danger there. Every day there's a new news story about someone who has fallen from grace publicly,
yes.
and how could that have been mitigated against by having just one person to be truthful
Accountability.
about it.
Yeah.
So I think, part of disorientation is often, I don't have the words for this. I don't understand what's going on. And sometimes you need someone else just to sit with you and understand that you don't have the words, or maybe hopefully by God's grace to sit with you, and maybe they do.
Yes.
Maybe they can help you.
Yes. Yeah.
So
That's so
community,
good.
I think, is really important.
Yeah, healing. We heal in community. We do not heal in isolation. So
That's right. Yeah.
And we can't walk on this road without other, as a beautiful guest I just had on spiritual wayfinding, we need to be wayfinders together.
Yeah.
So
Deb Gregory, I just talked to
yeah,
her too.
she's the best.
Yes,
oh my
great.
gosh.
Right.
She was just awesomeness. And so thank you, Noel. I am so grateful for you. And just know that you're such a luminary, and you are someone that I am so grateful to have had this conversation with. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as well.
Thank you for spending these moments with me here on the Heartlifter Way. Until next time, may you carry life gently. Listen to your body kindly, and remember, you were never meant to carry life alone. Amen. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message, so that they too can experience an inhale and an exhale. Remember, this is the gentle path. This is the Heartlifter Way.